For those in the alternate history community, a question is often asked. What if Napoleon won? Now, to answer a question such as this, you must first understand in what scenario would it be possible for him to win. I have put together a few possibilities of my own, and with research and speculation, I aim to answer that question. For the first of the two scenarios I will cover in this video, I ask, what if Napoleon did not invade Russia when he did? Napoleon's choice to invade the Russian Empire came when he discovered that the Tsar of Russia, Alexander I, had traded with the British to keep Russia's economy afloat. Prior to this, Napoleon had implemented an economic policy among his satellite and allied states in Europe known as the Continental System. The aim of his implementation was to try and blockade Britain from the mainland of Europe so that their economy would be muddled. It was sort of a precursor to the modern European Union. And what if Napoleon had decided to try to reason more with Alexander, or let the entire situation go? To answer the first question, Napoleon was a brash man. To get him to reason was a feat of its own. But in the case that he did, Napoleon may have been able to convince Alexander to stop trade with Britain and to try and figure out a way to align their economy more with the continental system. Whether Alexander would accept or not is up for debate, as on one hand he had become personal friends with Napoleon Bonaparte, but on the contrary, the peoples and economy of Russia were suffering without the trade from the British. But if he had stuck with Napoleon and his continental system, Alexander would need to fix the Russian economy, most likely through some sort of major reform. However, if Alexander did not accept, then the French invasion of the Russian Empire would be, again, very likely. Which brings me to my second point. Considering the close friendship between the young Alexander and Napoleon, the cordial relations between them might convince Napoleon that Russia was a greater ally than an enemy, albeit at the cost of Russian trade to Britain. Either way, things would most likely settle down on the continent of Europe, with the potential for the United Kingdom and France to repair their relationship later on, possibly leading to what could be considered a European Union. And for my second scenario, what if Napoleon won at Waterloo? After his exile to the island of Elba and subsequent return to France, an older, grittier Napoleon tried his hardest to push back the enemies of France. And it was possible that Napoleon could have won at the Battle of Waterloo, but would that end the war? Most likely not. Even if he wins that one battle, he still has a full war to fight. With an older Napoleon comes older tactics. By this point in Napoleon's conquest of Europe, his enemies had learned from his ways of fighting. Long gone were the days of the empires of old being surprised by Napoleon's fresh tactics on the battlefield. Along with this, Napoleon's aging brings more careful tactics. He's not the once spry man of the past, and so his tactics have to change along with him. But for the sake of the video, let's say that Napoleon is able to win key battles in the war despite the challenges he faces. What then? Even if he wins the war, his cancer will most likely catch up to him. Even if this is an alternate history scenario, Napoleon's ailments would most likely retain their significance, leading to his death. But if Napoleon's young son were to take power after all this, then he would most likely be ousted or conquered very soon after his coronation. The hungry eyes of France's enemies never stopped watching, but merely waited for the right time to strike. With Napoleon dead and a child in power, Napoleon's legacy would most likely never continue on. Maybe another descendant or relative would end up in power, like what happened with Napoleon III in our timeline. But the French Empire would wane and the status quo would return, bringing Europe to a time of peace, if only for a little while. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked what you watched here, please support this channel as it is a growing project and needs all the support it can get. And goodbye.